attendees.
Mr. Butterman.
Hi, I'm Jerry Buttermer. I live at 270 Scottswood, and I'm here with a brief report on the riverfront connection area behind these buildings. When I last met with you on September 5th, it was suggested that I meet with the staff and the engineer to discuss that project, possible grading, safety issues, and so on. We met the next morning on the 6th, and Peter, please jump in or add if I say anything that's not accurate. I think we had a very positive meeting. We examined a lot of the issues, and at one point I said, gosh, maybe I'm calling this a path and I shouldn't be. This isn't anything that we intend to build. This is a way to get from point A to point B. And we concluded that we're really talking probably about 3 landscaped areas, and that puts it in a different category than a public trail or a public municipality sidewalk. So the tentative conclusion or discussion at that point was these could be areas that are just turf. If someone chooses to walk across them, they can do that, but it would achieve the objective of getting a connection to the river and opening up the views. It was also suggested that I talk to the Landscape Advisory Commission. I met with them on the 10th. I also met with the Library Board on the 10th, followed up with the Preservation Commission on the 12th, I attended the Economic Development Commission also on the 12th, and there I received a copy of the CMAP, which I apologize, I didn't do my homework and I had not read the CMAP study. So a lot of things came into focus from that perspective rather than from my organizing a run perspective. But I think this path will also help achieve that objective. To date, everybody that I've interfaced with has been very positive about it. The contributions have been excellent. More volunteers are stepping up with good suggestions like if we need a fence, would a split rail fence be more attractive, say, than a black chain link fence? Would a round rail fence be more attractive? Would that make more sense if we had to supplement it with wire on the back side so somebody couldn't roll through the rails, those types of things. So even though we're not at that point yet, these suggestions are beginning to come from the group, which I think was probably President Sell's intention of saying, have you spoken to these guys yet? So I'm reporting back and it's positive. We also got a lot of recommendations about different types of vines, perhaps native sedges and grasses that could be grown on the riverbank, where we're currently in the process of removing the weed trees. Above and beyond the Call of Duty award probably should go this week to Mike Collins, our village forester. I was begging him at the last minute because we don't want to cause any noise or cutting this weekend with the Olmsted Society's Fred weekend. Mike came over, marked a half a dozen plants for saving, said go ahead, we can begin to work on the others. So we've now cut some holes or windows where you can see from 3 pretty distinct points long river views. During the meeting with the engineer, we talked, and Ed was volunteering perhaps the tree service to remove the stumps, and we talked about a fence, and he also volunteered the village's material, and we volunteered the labor to run it the entire length. At the conclusion of the meeting, we were talking about turf. I've had further meetings with Tom Lupfer from Lupfer Landscaping. He's saying turf would be a logical extension perhaps by the library, but maybe not spend the money in this long stretch behind the village hall. And he was saying if we've got wood chips, if we treat the area, remove the stumps, treat the area, make it safe, and then put down wood chips, that'd be a great fall start to eliminate weeds for the spring. And if somebody wants to walk over wood chips, of course, that's a decent surface. I brought a little 2-minute clip to show. We don't have a projector, so I won't take your time with it. But tomorrow I'll send you an email with a link to it, and you can go online and see it. And that's my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Trustees? Sounds like things are moving at pace.
And I would like your permission to work with Peter and Ed and install that fence, continue to after the Olmsted Society to continue to cut on the lower bank. Mike's email to us, and I put a little video out there to identify the plants. There are a couple of beautiful willows that have been buried in the weeds by the side of the library. So we kind of open those up, save the willow, but remove some of the weeds so you can begin to appreciate what's really there and has been hidden. So those things make sense. We are being sensitive to a couple of viburnums, a crabapple tree, but 99% of the rest is just weeds.
I think you really noticed it this week during the farmers market. In the back of the parking lot, you could see the work. You know, when people were walking back there, you could look down and actually see the work.
I mean, with regard to the fence question, though, since that's hardscape, that would be something that would have to be presented to LAC and preservation.
Yeah, I think what Mr. Butler is referring to is a temporary fence that would be installed while the work is proceeding, and then he is going to be working with the volunteers on obtaining a fence, and then once they decide what fence material, then they will bring it back to LAC.
And one of the things I did at the Plan Commission was to ask them, I'm sorry, I was at the Preservation Commission. Plan was canceled, but the intention was to ask them to prepare some input. Tell us what the code is, and we will need Bob Carraher to tell us what the code is before we can really plan a fence. I think I know what it is, but I'd like to confirm it with the experts before we get too far along. I think we haven't made mistakes yet, and I don't think I think the community's reaction, those few that have seen it, has been positive, but what are you folks hearing?
I think it's progressing very nicely.
Positive, very positive.
Okay.
Thank you very much for all your work, Jerry.
Oh, it's not me. Believe me, I'm the last guy to do the work. We got some great volunteers, and the staff has been terrific. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Butterman. Anyone else?